So starting these is always so interesting. There's, I don't know if an ad plays for other people, but then I've got to have the video ready, on the other screen, waiting to see if it's playing.
Yeah.
And then I've got to mute it too, because then I'll get my echo and everything.
Fun times.
Okay. Looks like we're playing now. So welcome everyone to Aaron's Reading Room. This is episode number 3, and we are so lucky to be joined by the debut author, Darby Baham. Your book, The Shoe Diaries, released. So you could buy it early on Harlequin, January 1st, but the official release was February. So Darby, thank you for being here. Welcome. Let us know how you're doing.
Thank you for having me, Aaron, and thank you, everyone for joining us tonight. I know it's a Friday night. You could be anywhere, but you are here with us.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I am overjoyed, sort of a little bit like in a surreal place these days. A little overwhelmed, but in a good way, right?
Yes.
Like all the things you've been wanting are finally like coming to be.
Yeah.
And I'm on deadline. So it's like it's a little bit of a mixture of a lot of emotions.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I was just saying, when you first joined, you're stacking live events back to back pretty much. You were just on Instagram Live just a few minutes ago. So how is it being a published author and getting you've gotten like a red carpet rollout from Harlequin for promoting and everything. So how's it been?
It is super exciting, right? Like it is, when you think about, one of the reasons that I went with Harlequin was because, and we'll get into this, I'm sure, but like Gail was just absolutely amazing first conversation in, and I could tell that she was excited about the book and, that they were excited to have me on. So I think you see that reflection, obviously in the promotion. It's also absolutely a reflection of my work with my publicist and, just like really my me not to drop any balls, like really just wanting to get out there and like like the first book, you can't sit back, you gotta get out there. You only get this one shot, right? Like just really take the opportunity by the horns and just go for it. But I also have to admit to you that I am what I like to call an extroverted introvert.
Oh,
so
I understand.
It's like I'm not shy at all. I can talk your head off. I love talking with people and connecting with people, but I am not like someone who gets energy from it. Like I need to recharge after. And one of the things, one of the things they tell you or they don't tell you when you decide like, hey, I want to be an author, like you got to talk a lot. And my natural instinct is to be like, but can I like write you? Can I write it back to you? Because that's where I shine. Like that's how I know I'm not going to say anything that I regret. I'm just like, let me write it and give it to you, and then we can talk, kind of thing. Yeah. So it's been a little bit of both for me.
Good. Well, so on that note, have you've done some live readings probably going around touring the book, and how has that gone?
I think the first one, I felt like I sounded like a preschool teacher trying to read a romance book. So thankfully, I don't think a lot of people were on that live. It's gotten better, I think, as I get more used to reading my works to people. But I mean, I used to volunteer when I lived in DC. I used to volunteer to read to young kids at like a shelter.
Okay, yeah.
So that's, that's where it comes from. And then it's like, no, settle in. You know what you're reading.
You're right. Yeah.
You're not reading The Cat in the Hat right now, Darby. So I think that's helped a lot for sure. And then just the more times you do it, like, Absolutely. You really get into it. You remember what you were thinking about when you wrote it and what the feeling of it is supposed to be. I think the coolest opportunity I had for it was last weekend. I had a very small, like intimate New York City release party. And I read like 3 excerpts during that and gave a bunch of context around it. And my friends are just super lively.
Uh-huh.
They
It
can
looked like
bring
quite
up
the
the
event.
energy. Yeah. And honestly, like I think you can tell this when you read the book that I pull a lot of the importance of relationships and friendships from my
Yeah.
friend groups that go
Mhm.
into the book, right? So I got that same vibe in
Yes.
the release party, and I'm like, started off nervous. I'm reading it, and then they're over there making jokes and saying the right stuff. They're like, "You got this. You can do it."
Uh-huh.
And
Awesome.
that was everything I needed to make it what it needed to be.
Oh, good. Yeah. Folks, if you haven't seen the Instagram pictures, check them out. It looked like quite the party.
Yeah.
All right. So jumping into my questions here. So sorry, I lost
Oh,
my
we're here.
spot in
Let's
my
do
in my
it.
questions. So this is a book channel, obviously. So when we love covers, so do you have any covers of books handy that you'd like to show off that you love?
I do. So I'm gonna caveat this a little bit that
Okay.
I redid my bookshelf last year.
Hmm.
It was like one of those I broke up with someone
Oh.
projects.
Yeah.
And when I did that, I it was a good thing. I needed to do it, but
Mhm.
there's not a ton of room for a lot of like physical books left, right? So I do
Yeah.
have one physical book that I love the cover. And then I have some other books that like I can try and describe
Okay.
because they are on my Kindle, but my guess is that trying to show it on my phone is not going to work. But
Okay.
Aaron, you might have some of them, so I'm hoping that you can maybe
Oh.
help me out.
Okay. Okay. I might
Put too much
maybe.
pressure on you.
This will
But
be
the first
fun.
one I did find was I love this book. You Had Me at
Oh
Hola.
yeah. Hmm.
Now, another little dirty secret is that I read slow, so I have not read it yet.
No, that's
It is on
okay.
my TBR list. Obviously, I purchased it. I'm going to read it. But this cover, like, I think I just like really bold colors
Yeah.
on a book cover that just like bring you into it, right?
Uh-huh.
They're like it's illustrated, but you still get that real vibe from it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm doing this right. Yeah. So I love this one for sure. And then there were a couple of them that I don't know. Let me see if I can try this.
Yeah, go give it a shot.
We're just gonna try it. It may work, it may not. That's what live is all about, right?
Yes. Yes, it's an adventure.
Can you see that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so if you
Okay. So I love this cover. Let me see if I turn the. This is Love at the Icicle Cafe by Denise N. Wheatley.
Uh-huh. Yes.
And how is that? That cover is gorgeous, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like everything Christmas is supposed to be. That's
Uh-huh.
how I feel.
Yeah.
You've got like the ice, obviously the
Mhm.
icicles. You've got like the cute couple giving you like love right in the eyes.
Oh, yeah.
You've got the gorgeous green emeralds. Like that did it for me. I love that cover. I also love this Adriana Herrera book, American Sweethearts.
Okay.
Another one with like vibrant colors
Oh,
here.
yeah.
You've got like, who doesn't want to go on that beach? You know what I
Oh,
mean?
absolutely. Yeah.
That is the beach you want to go to.
It's yeah.
And that's the like, you want the guy to like pick you up and scoop you up with like
Mhm.
I don't even know what tree that is in the background, but I want that tree in the background while it's happening. you know? So those are some of
Perfect
them. And
moment.
then I have to give a shout out to special edition because I feel
Mhm.
like special edition, I mean, I'm biased, right? I'm gonna say that.
That's
But
okay.
I think they have been knocking it out of the park lately with the covers.
Mhm.
Um, so shout out to like whoever's doing that. Right? I don't know if that necessarily is,
Yeah.
but like let's see. I have this also in my Kindle. The Lights on Knockbridge Lane by Roan Parrish. Like
Yeah. Oh,
that's
yeah.
another one
Mhm.
that is everything. It just screams Christmas to you, right?
Yes. Yeah. I do
um,
have that one, but it's actually in the shelf in the other room. So so I
oh,
can't just turn
Aaron.
around and grab it.
Okay, that's fine. And then the other one that I wanted to bring up was the 5-Day Reunion by Mona Shroff.
Yes.
That one came out same time as mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at her cover like, man, I love that cover. Like, can you guys see it?
Oh yeah.
I love that cover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the colors
I mean,
on
I
it are
love my
just
color too, my cover too,
oh
obviously.
yeah.
I was like, look at us shining in this. The January special edition troop is like giving you everything that you need.
Yeah. Yeah, it had some really good covers
Yeah.
this time around. So awesome. Well, thank you for sharing those. Now, when you agreed to come on my channel, you told me you hadn't read too many category romance novels.
Yeah.
Are there, so you've got the ones you just showed us, those I assume are on your TBR, but
They are.
are there any recommendations that you're looking for, or have you got your category journey already kind of planned out?
I mean, I do. I have a very long TBR list.
Yeah.
I am, you know, sort of like you, Aaron. I think I'm like coming into the category journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a category enthusiast right now. Like, I'm soaking it all in. Like, give me all the books.
Yeah,
It
good.
may take me 5 years to read them all. But,
Yeah.
you know, obviously I've got like, I think I have like 5 Lucy Monroe books saved.
Uh-huh.
She's like the queen of category, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Who else do I have? I have A Chef's Kiss by Nina Crespo.
Yeah.
Again, another one I haven't read, but well, obviously it's on my TBR list. But for some reason, after I downloaded that book, I started saying everything was a chef's kiss. So
Uh-huh.
I was like, that's a chef's kiss. Like, what am I doing?
I don't think you're the only one. I think it's just going around. It's just a new term. So
Yeah.
but it's great. I love it. And I'll tell you what, I read A Cowgirl's Surprise Match, which was the book right before that by Nina Crespo, and it featured just a little bit of the character that, you know, the main character in A Chef's Kiss, and that's one of those books that like you want to make sure you sit down and eat, I'm sure, before you start reading it, because you're gonna get real hungry.
You get so hungry.
Yeah.
Her posts on Instagram too. I'm like, these like, I think she was doing like these Monday posts where she would give a recipe I'm like, Nina, I'm trying to eat healthy right now.
Right.
You put like macaroni and cheese.
Right.
So that's definitely on there. What's another one? Delicious Dilemma by Sarah.
Oh yes, I have that one right here.
So excited.
I was gonna tell you, yeah, your other debut sister there.
So excited to read that one. And then obviously, I mean, LaQuette has a bunch of them, but the Backstage Benefits one, definitely on my list. There you go. I heard her episode of the Categorically Romance Pod, and she was talking about like, it's basically like Black Dynasty in Brooklyn, and I was like, okay, yeah, you sold me. I want that.
Yeah, I remember hearing her say that too, and I never caught Dynasty. It was before my time, and I had canceled cable by the time they revived it and everything. So, but I picked it up real quick. I was like, oh, this is a family that's like a family, but they're like all out to get each other.
Yeah. Which, I mean, hopefully that's not my family, but I love to read about like just the mess.
Right. Yeah. It just you just love that drama in there.
Yeah.
Well, Charles is here from Books on Stereo, and he's sold on LaQuette's book there. So Charles, you need to check out Darby's book as well. All right. So next, how did you come to the decision to submit the Shoe Diaries to Harlequin? And I apologize if this is your questions, you're just getting all over the place. No. But was it the intent initially, or you know, listening to your episode of the Categorically Romance podcast, you rewrote this book like 9 times. So was it just, I guess as an aspiring author, I get it. I'm in the process of a rewrite, and so what was your plan to get this story out there?
I mean, honestly, that credit goes fully to my agent, Latoya C. Smith. when I finally got, we all know aspiring authors, getting that agent is like one of the hardest things in the world.
Right.
Got an agent. Latoya was like, I love your work in like 2019. And we worked with it a little bit more, and she pitched it to a number of publishers. And Gail just like stood out, right? Like it wasn't, I don't know if it's okay to say this. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, I need to be with Harlequin. Now I'm extremely thankful that that's where we landed, and like having the Harlequin family around me has been such an amazing like blessing, and all that stuff. But it was really Gail who sold me.
Awesome.
I'm sure that Latoya had folks in mind, and she had like her reasons for pitching to Harlequin and pitching to Gail specifically. But for me, it was getting on the phone with Gail because we were in pandemic times, and her saying like everything that you want an editor to say, that like it's like you get me,
Yeah.
you especially like working on a book for so long, you don't know if people are going to get it. And she just really seemed to get it, and she was like, I don't want to materially change anything about the book. Like obviously we're going to make edits, but I love this book as is, right? And so that certainly helped. And the biggest sell was she said her favorite line, and that was my favorite line in the book. And so I was like, okay, this is fate. Like,
yeah, it was meant to be.
Yeah, totally.
So that's great. And you touched on something that I've noticed just listening to Harlequin authors, is that they love to be part of this publishing company, that it's just, they're doing something right, because, we get on book Twitter and there's lots of talk of, this publishing company is trying to rip me off, all this stuff. But the fact that Harlequin is retaining a lot of their authors now too, like it didn't used to be that everyone wanted to be a Tara Taylor Quinn and just stay with Harlequin forever. They used it as a stepping stone, but a lot of authors are staying with them because it just seems like a great family to be a part of.
Yeah. I mean, it's a family, but it's the support, right? So, I mean, I don't know if Gail hates getting an email from me, but who knows on the other side, right? But especially as a debut author, like I am always emailing her and asking her just a ton of questions. And she immediately responds back. Like she and Megan are there for anything that I need. And for me, I need that. I wanted that kind of support coming in into this like book journey of being a published author. And they haven't told me that there isn't anything that I've tried to do that they're like, no, you can't do that. They're like, yeah, let's figure it out,
Awesome.
So that's good.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Charles has a question here. Do you have any other subgenres that you want to delve into, or have you wanted to go indie or right outside of Harlequin?
I never really had a desire to go indie. I think just like as a little girl, like some little girls, they like plan out their wedding and stuff. I planned out wanting to be a published author for like a major publisher. I don't know. That's awful.
Hey, but yeah, that's fine.
That was my
dream. I've heard that doing indie is hard too.
It's hard.
You got to do all of it. So.
I mean, there's pros and cons to both, right? You have more autonomy with indie. You don't have as many people who are putting their fingers on your work. So if that's what you really want, then like I say, go for it, right?
Yeah,
for me, I'm an editor in my day job. So I am all about having, like, that's what I do for a living. I'm all about having people come in and make the thing better and like mold it into what it can be. So I don't know that my sensibilities that I would want to put something out there that somebody else hasn't like touched and done some things with.
Okay. Yeah, great point.
In terms of writing outside of Harlequin, I have a ton of ideas. So like, I definitely want to continue this series. There's some single title books that I have up here and on some Word documents. And, we see where those land, obviously. But I I think the sky's the limit at this point, you know?
That sounds great. And, I and a lot of other people are looking forward to where your career is going to go.
Yay.
So it's going to be a bright one, I'm pretty sure. So talking about the editing process. So Gail is the senior editor for Special Edition, but Susan Littman was on the Categorically Romance podcast and was just talking up your book like it's the best thing since sliced bread, and it is really good. But as someone from the outside, I think that a debut author would work with Megan Broderick, as the assistant. Like, did you end up working with all of them? Was it you were juggled around a bunch? Can you
Yeah.
tell us a bit about the process there?
Yeah. And and I, again, as a debut, I don't know if this is normal or not,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like I work with Gail and Megan on different stuff, but pretty equally.
Uh-huh.
So, my process has been, at least for the past 2-ish books, that Gail takes the first pass.
Okay.
She's the one who approves the proposal, she signs off and like that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm working with Megan and different copy editors to
Right.
go through that process to finish it off.
Mm-hmm.
I think Gail looks at it again maybe at some point. And then there's different like parts that are not necessarily like specific to the manuscript that I'm working on with both of them. So, Harlequin has this extensive art fact, like they call it an art fact sheet, but it is not a sheet. And there's a reason that they've been coming out with these really great covers, because they ask you for a ton of information that has to do with like, the scenes that are in the book that you think are really relevant, like characteristics of the characters and like all that kind of stuff or whatever, right?
Oh yeah.
And so I worked with Megan pretty closely on that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Gail and Megan both like seem to kind of answer any like random author questions that I have, like at any given time. I'm like, hey Gail, how does someone get my book on NetGalley? Whatever, I just don't know. And then Susan, I haven't actually worked with Susan directly.
Okay.
But I don't know what goes on in the back end.
Yeah.
I do know that we've like virtually met a few times, and she, just as supportive as she was on the Categorically Romance pod, she's been that like directly to me. So
awesome.
I'm all for that. That's great. When I heard her talk about it on the pod too, I was like, she was talking about my book. Like that's awesome. It's like one of those things, I guess, as an author, you're just sort of starting to like get used to people talking about your work,
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's got to be interesting to put that out there, and then to have to hear the feedback. Like it's almost terrifying to think about.
It is a little terrifying, but then when it's good, you're like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Right. Well, I'll apologize post reading your book and shouting about it on Twitter if I had you nervous at any point there. So after digging into just you a little bit before this interview, reading some of your things that got posted published in the Washington Post about in their relationship vertical, it sounds like the Shoe Diaries definitely has a bit of an autobiographical take in it. You had a health scare, and you kind of had that moment of, well, our time here is limited. I'm gonna go out and take these chances. I'm sure you didn't do it exactly like in the Shoe Diaries, but can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I think I've had a lot of friends ask me like, what's autobiographical and what's not. And I'd say it's probably a mix of both. There's certainly some elements that are superficially like me, right? Like I'm from New Orleans. I lived in DC for 15 years. I have a vast shoe collection, like that kind of stuff is just, like, okay, yeah, that's me. Right? There's some things that, for better or for worse, I have a pretty great imagination. So I'm just pulling that from the ethos. And then, like you said, I had my own health scare in 2015. That was pretty extensive. So I would I would say to anyone, like, listen to your body. Right?
Yes.
That is my nod. Listen to your body, because your body will tell you if something is wrong. But I was trying to be like, I am woman, hear me roar, and like, I'm
Yeah.
fine, I don't need to go to the hospital, blah blah,
Uh-huh.
and I needed to. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that certainly like made me, a year later, I was in New York, right? It
Hmm.
prompted me to think about like, what am I doing that feels just like comfortable, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I also have a pretty close friend of mine who has a chronic illness.
Okay.
And so I certainly was able to pull
Yeah.
from our experiences for
Hmm.
the relationship with Reagan and Christine. But a lot of the rest so I don't know, that was a lot that is autobiographical, but a lot of
Uh-huh.
the rest of it is very much fiction, right? Like I've never done a wrist list.
Yeah.
Some of the shoes that Reagan has, I don't even know what I would do with some of those shoes. Like, I'm not buying $1,000 pair of shoes. It's not
Right. And if you had them, would you just put them in a safe in the closet and not touch them again?
basically. Exactly. I mean, I have like a pretty large collection of shoes, but they range. I mean, I'll buy $5 pairs of shoes up to, I think my limit thus far has been around 300, 350.
Okay.
And I think the first time I bought that 300 pair, I didn't wear them for a while because I was like, what am I wearing these $300 shoes?
Yeah.
um, so it's like that kind of stuff that I think it's cool for me to blend a little bit of both of the autobiographical parts and the fiction. One, because writing for me is often my way to like process things that I'm going through.
Yeah.
So when I started writing the book, I was trying to figure out like, what does it look like to not just be checking off all the things that you should be doing, but like figuring out for yourself what makes you happy.
Yeah.
I started writing the book 10 years ago, so that's hopefully not as much of a reality these days. But but that was certainly something that helped me kind of like figure out my journey.
Yeah.
And the hope was that it would sort of start to help other people as well.
Well, awesome. Awesome. Our friend Vina just joined. Hey, Vina. All right. So talking about writing a bit, I noticed something reading your book, and it kind of throws it in the face of writing advice. So in general, in writing advice, they say avoid pop culture references. And I kind of agree with this sometimes, but you took this advice and just threw it out the window. You're like, no, that's not how this story is going to be told. You mentioned specific songs, specific artists, and I think, you know, there's that want to do that because I think every writer hears a song and is like, oh, this song would be perfect for this scene. Like it just sets it perfectly. So what gave you the courage to just throw that out the window and just say to hell with it? I'm doing it anyway.
Well, honestly, it wasn't very courageous. I just didn't know that that was a thing. I found out later. But when I was writing it, I mean, I think because I have a background in writing for some newspapers,
Mhm.
um, it's generally like, when you're writing for, like when I would write for, I did a couple pieces for the Washington Post, right? As you
Mhm.
mentioned, the idea is that even if you're talking about something evergreen, you want to relate it to something that's happening right now, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's something that I just recently did as well. Like an op-ed that I just did for Blavity just came out
Uh-huh.
about the power of like female friendships, and
Mhm.
I connected that to like some pop culture references about female friendships that you see, like especially on Black television, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that's just how my brain works, really, and how my writing
Mhm.
style is. So I don't know. I like in my attempt to try to be like super descriptive, even when I'm telling stories to my friends, like I want to paint that scene for you so
Yeah.
you feel like you are in that moment. And the best way to do that is to like give you the smells, the sounds, the what you're seeing, all of that
Mhm.
stuff. And I can't do that if I can't also tell you like they were dancing to a Luther Vandross song. Like, I don't know. That
Yeah.
just it feels like it's necessary to me.
Uh-huh.
And then I think also for something like the Shoe Diaries, you had to tell what the shoes were, right? Like you
Oh
couldn't,
yeah.
I would have been, as a shoe lover, upset if I opened up a book called The Shoe Diaries and you're just sort of vaguely talking about shoes, but you're not
Uh-huh.
giving me the descriptions, you're not giving me the names, like all that kind of stuff. So that
Right.
may have been the way that I like got away with it a little bit. And then I just, like you said, like you gave me a little bit, I'm putting it all in there.
Yeah.
You know? um, the one thing that this is how I learned that, conventional knowledge is that you shouldn't do this, is that when I first wrote the book, it had song lyrics in, and you cannot, like, that's
Uh-huh.
legally, you cannot do that.
Oh, uh-huh.
So that's not even like, oh, we think maybe, no. Unless you want Harlequin to get sued and then you to get sued,
Yeah. Right.
you can't do that. But what you can do is
Mhm.
say, oh, well, she woke up to an alarm playing Nicki Minaj's Pound the Alarm. I don't have to
Yeah.
tell you what the song, what the lyrics say, because maybe it's interesting enough for you to be like, let me go turn that on, whatever. I'm not
Yeah.
shouting out any music streamings, but like whatever, whatever place that you listen to your music, you'll go and say, yeah, let me see what that song's on. Like if I randomly don't know what a Nicki Minaj song sounds like, I don't know.
Well, I absolutely heard that song on that line. So I was like, oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We know that one. So that's great. I love that you just went and did it and submitted it, and they're just like, oh, okay, we'll do this.
Yeah.
But I'm very thankful. I have a hard time finding new music because YouTube just tries to play me the same things over and over again.
Those
So it's like,
algorithms. Those
yeah, I
algorithms.
know. All right. So I added this question,
Okay.
but Robin's book, is Robin gonna get a book?
Mhm.
Okay. I'm curious with the setup we got in the Shoe Diaries. Is this still gonna be a special edition?
Mhm.
Okay, because it's gonna have a dynamic that you don't usually see in special edition. It's usually more like a more romance, true love presents kind of setup there. So I'm very curious and excited. Is there anything you are allowed to share about it yet?
Well, I will tell you that Robin's book is not the next one, right? So the next one comes out. I know. Sorry.
It's okay.
The next one comes out in May, and that is going to be Jennifer's book.
Okay.
And so I think what you'll see is that because it'll still be, you'll still get, I think you actually get more of the friends' relationships if that's possible, in the second one. But it is, it's a mixture of both, right? You get your romance, you get
Okay.
the
Yeah.
friends, love,
Mhm.
and commitments to each other. And then you also get, um, as Jennifer's like going on her journey and figuring out like her stuff as well. And I
Yeah.
think what you'll find is that by the end of that book, it sets up Robin for something that is a little bit more romancy than where she is right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's all I
Well,
can say right now.
I'm very excited. And this I haven't read too many category romances, but the Shoe Diaries was very different from everything I read so far, and it's it was I hate to use the word refreshing because I still love the other categories, but it was just so fun to have this story that was so concentrated on Ray and just this one character, and you really just were part of her life. And like I said in my own vlog about it, had the love interest had half of the book, Ray's story wouldn't have it would have taken away from
Yeah.
Ray's story. So did you ever plan to have a perspective from the love interest, or did it how did that end up happening?
So that was one of the many versions
Uh-huh.
you know, I don't know how, I need to go back and see how many different versions there were at one point,
Uh,
but There was one version that gave you a little bit more of her love interest, like understanding, I
Uh-huh.
think. But I think you hit the nail on the head, Aaron, in that like I really felt like you can't get Reagan to where she gets to at the end if you rush through it, right? Like it
Yeah.
just didn't feel authentic to me.
Uh-huh.
She's got some things she's got to get through before she gets to that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just needed to give her the time to get there, you know?
Yeah.
So that's sort of how we got there.
It was a journey. It was a journey, definitely. Now, you mentioned you still have a day job. So is the plan to eventually be just full-time novelist, or it seems like you really enjoy you've found a way to enjoy the work you do. Just with your work history, it seems like it's very oh boy, what do I say? It's you haven't worked for big corporations or anything like that. You've done a lot of just groundwork of just helping people or government work, things like that. Um, yeah. So what's your career plan?
That's a great question. I mean, I love my current job. It is no cakewalk in the park.
Yeah.
I'm an editor for a nonprofit, and anybody
Hmm.
who works in nonprofit knows probably a little bit of what that means.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we work in like the criminal justice and health field, so that can be
Hmm.
really heavy
Yeah.
sometimes. But it's like good work. It's work that I believe in. So it's like,
Yeah.
you're trying to find that balance, right? I
Hmm.
think, I mentioned when I was a little girl, I had like dreams of being an author. So obviously, long term, I would love to be a full-time author.
Hmm.
Um, I think when the thing about being a full-time author is that most people don't realize that most authors are not, because it
Uh-huh.
takes a lot of money to be a
Yeah.
full-time author, right?
Yeah.
When I first got the deal, I had some coworkers jokingly say like, "Oh, well, she's leaving us soon," and I was like, "Let me just break it down to you this way. Say I was one of the lucky few people that got $100,000 advance. I'm not,
Hmm.
but say I was, right?
Yeah.
This is going to sound shocking for anyone who doesn't live in New York, but in New York, $100,000 is middle class. I know that that's crazy. I
Hmm.
know that that sounds insane,
Yeah.
but that is reality in New York
Right.
because of the
Hmm.
cost of living, right?
Big city. Yeah.
That's one advance. And if you're like me, like my advance was split over 3 books. So that's one
Hmm.
year. What do I do next year? I still
Yeah.
gotta pay rent. I still gotta
Uh-huh.
eat. So it's like, even if you got like a really high advance, you would have to get it over and over and over
Hmm.
again. And now
Yeah.
there have been some really lucky people who have been able to do that. I think we probably all know the names, and that is an indicator that it is rare.
Yeah.
Right? Um, so I mean, yes, long term, ultimate goal, I would love to be a full-time author. Ultimate goal, I'd love to be full-time. I have the three full times: full-time author,
Hmm.
wife, mother. Like those are my three, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, Short term, I'm just learning how to juggle both. Like my job is important to me, the work that I
Hmm.
do is important. Um, Being an author is important to me. So there are times that you just have to like figure it out. And there's no neat way to do that. I've had a couple friends say, like, well, how did you plan out like your dates? And it's like, no, there's some stuff that you're gonna miss, right? Like there's
Uh-huh.
important dates that I have missed and that I've been
Mhm.
really sad about.
Uh-huh.
um, but there's deadlines and there's like, these two things are both important to me, so I have to make the time for them, is sort of how it happens.
Yeah. Do you have any tips for the aspiring author on time management?
Make the time.
Make the time.
It's sort of like
Hmm.
it's like with relationships, right? Like
Yeah.
if you are a really busy person, you could make the excuse, I don't have time for a relationship.
Hmm.
But if you meet someone where it's important enough for you to do that, you're gonna make the time.
Yeah.
And so you just have to treat it like this this thing that is not tangible right now is important enough to me that like I'm gonna find an hour where I didn't think I had an hour.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm gonna get up early on Wednesday morning to write, or maybe I'm gonna go to sleep late on Thursday night to write. Maybe like, you know, if I've got kids, like, hey, mom or dad needs like an hour where you're like, I don't know, doing something that is not with me, right? Like,
Yes. Yeah.
and you just have to make the time. And you can't let like what feels like lack of time stop you. There are a lot of things that will stop you from writing.
Yeah.
Lack of time, like feeling defeated, you know, insecurities about whether or not like what you're doing is going to matter and if it's going to come out. And your job, this is what I try to remind myself as I'm writing book 3, like my job, your job is to just keep writing and to just keep finding the time. And that's ultimately, that is not like time management at all, but it's just do it.
But you know what? Sometimes, and I myself have needed it. You just need someone to tell you that you can do it.
Yeah.
You know, that you're able to. So well, thank you for that. So going back to your relationship verticals in the Washington Post, I read one of them and it mentioned this bizarre, like this tradition that seemed so crazy to me. And that is that, let's see what, so it was an older unmarried sibling at a wedding has to dance with a broom and everyone just stands around and makes a spectacle of that.
Isn't that wild? Why would you do that to someone?
That it seems so cruel. And oh my goodness, that my jaw was on the floor.
Me too.
I read that. I was like, who would even stand for that? Like, heck no.
Thankfully,
I would hope no one would.
Thankfully, I was just that older unmarried sibling at my middle sister's wedding last year, and she did not. She did not.
Well, yeah, good. I'm glad she didn't try.
Yeah, that was not going to. But that's I don't, you know, love my Louisiana folks, but sometimes those Cajun and Creole traditions are just like, what? Why would you do that to someone? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. So on the latest or next to latest episode of Dear Romance Writer, I heard of another one, and it's the apology dinner. Apparently, this is a more Midwestern thing. Have you ever heard of that? No. Oh, it was wild. It was like if someone was upset in the family, like they put on the perpetrator or whatever, put on an apology dinner for the victim, and it's like the whole family, and it's this whole just like the person just eats crow during during this dinner to make up for it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how awful would that be? Who would even want to witness that?
Even if you did it, right? Why would you ever want to come around your family anymore after that? Like,
right.
I don't know how that inspires better relationship. You know? I don't know.
All right. Well, that was just a fun thing. I just wanted to talk with you.
But I will say, just before we move on, that like, even though we're making fun of that, I mean, traditions, I come from New Orleans. It's a culture of traditions and that kind of stuff. And I love some of them, right? Like, there are things that I have learned after moving away from there that I didn't know were specific to New Orleans because I just grew up in it, right?
Yeah.
And I think those are that much more dear to me now because I'm like, oh, that was just us. Like, we were just doing our thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, New Orleans has to be one of the most unique cities in the country. I mean, there were just so many cultures that mixed there, and it really became its own thing.
Yeah.
So
it is the city version of probably our most famous dish, right? Gumbo. That the idea of gumbo is just throw a whole bunch of stuff in there and make magic, and that is the city, right? And so you get this mixture of all these wild cultures and traditions and that kind of stuff, and it's great until you ask someone to dance with a broom at a wedding.
Yeah. So Actually, that makes me wonder what was Mardi Gras like as like a resident of New Orleans? Did you just go and party with everyone else, or did it become eventually just like, oh, can't they keep it down? Or
You know, it's funny. I think it depends on who you talk to, right? So, like,
uh-huh.
my family is outside of my grandmother, and I'll tell you why in a second. But my family is a Mardi Gras family.
Okay.
My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, he for a long, long time worked for the company that creates the floats for
Oh,
the
wow.
parades, right? So he like worked his way up to like basically like the right hand man
Uh-huh.
of of that company. And then
Hmm.
so that just sort of like, I don't know, it just flowed into all of us. We went to
Yeah.
parades and balls just growing. That was just normal stuff for us, right? My grandmother doesn't love it because she feels like that took her husband away, like he was always doing that stuff. But the rest
Oh.
of us were
Mhm.
like Mardi Gras, Carnival, like this is amazing. And my youngest sister,
Mhm.
she like carried on the legacy for a little while. She's an event planner. And she, prior to the pandemic, worked at that same company because they
Oh, wow.
expanded and started like doing events and stuff, right?
Uh-huh.
So it just we are a Mardi Gras family. I was
Truly,
yeah,
truly, you are
yeah,
in the middle of it. That is
completely. I
amazing.
grew up playing parade with my siblings. Like if we didn't have anything else to do,
Uh-huh.
we would just like decorate the couch, pull out like bags of beads that we had caught
Uh-huh.
like at the parades, and we'd be like, "Throw me something, mister." We're just throwing it. I'm sure my parents were not happy about it, but this is what we did. That said, I do think the local version of Mardi Gras is completely different than like when you come as a tourist.
Uh-huh.
Um, the parades, parade season starts much earlier for people who are residents there, who live
Okay.
there.
Mhm.
Carnival slash Mardi Gras starts January 6th for us.
Mhm.
Um, on a year like this year, like Mardi Gras Day is March 6th. So March 1st. So
Uh-huh.
from
So
January 6th to March 1st,
yeah.
they're having a great time down there right now, right? Like
Uh-huh.
they're eating king cake every Friday. They're going to balls. They're going to different parades and stuff.
Mhm. Yeah.
Most people who are tourists, they come down there for that last week.
Yeah. Okay.
And that last week is when you have like all the really big parades. You got all the Bourbon Street stuff, all that kind of
Uh-huh.
stuff, whatever. But I would tell people like, as a resident, like you're not flashing and doing all that stuff. My
Uh-huh.
grandfather's on that float. Like I can't, you know. So that's not happening. But it's like a fun, it sounds crazy to say it, but it's like a fun family time. We're out there with your family, probably drinking because it's not
Uh-huh.
taboo in New Orleans, eating food, talking to people you don't know,
Uh-huh.
and just having communal family out there while you're like catching things from a float.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is so great. Oh, thank you for taking us there. That
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. Now we can't not talk about shoes. So, do you have any shoes that you wanna show off here, or do you have any dream pair of shoes that you've always wanted but might not ever have?
So I don't have like I probably do have a dream pair of shoes, but I've been trying not to spend as much money right now. So, because I have a hard time. Like if I say I want a pair of shoes, like I'm getting it. I'm not,
Uh-huh. Right.
I
We
just
don't deny ourselves.
yeah, there are times that I'm just like, I'm not looking because if I look, I'm gonna find and then I'm gonna buy.
Yeah.
And we're not doing that right now. But if anyone is on here that follows me on Instagram and Twitter, then you
Mhm.
saw that like I purchased a pair of heels in December that finally came like about a week and a half ago,
Mhm.
maybe 2 weeks ago now. And I wore those to the New York City release
Yes.
party. Well, what I did not say at the time was that I purchased two pairs of the same heels, but in a different color. So like
Oh.
those were clear with like a big white
Mhm.
toe.
Yes.
These are pink.
Oh, those are so pretty.
Okay. Yeah,
Oh,
they're
that
pink. And
the
it like wraps
sparkly.
around your
Oh,
ankle
not. Oh,
and
wow.
thing. I don't know, I'm not
Uh-huh.
doing it right. But like that.
Yeah.
Like that. And the hope is, well, not the hope, unless something goes wrong, I'm wearing these for my book signing in New Orleans that I'm going down for on the 19th.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone lives in New Orleans or is like gonna be close by, we're doing a book signing at Blue Cypress Books on February 19th, and I will have those heels on. Come bleep or high water. And hopefully, you know what though? I wore them for like 6 hours at the New York City release party. They must be, because you just never know, like if it's going to be heels that you have to take off in an hour or what, but hopefully these will stay on for the time. And yeah, those are the ones that are like my dreams right now because I haven't worn them yet, you know?
Oh, okay. Well, I wish you the best with them
Thank you.
for your book signing.
The thing with heels, and I've always had this because I'm a little clumsy, right? But I love heels. And the thing is just like hoping you don't fall in them. Like that is because you can't fall cute in heels. You just, it's just like a, like, it's just done. Like you can't do anything about it. So yeah, so that is, everyone cross your fingers that we do not have that incident.
All right. We got them crossed. No, I have a tiny bit of experience with that. I went to some theme parties in college where I wore a pair of heels, and yeah, I didn't wear them for very long. They weren't very comfortable.
I have, you know, and I should probably get rid of these, but some of them I just really love. But there are heels that I know I can only wear for like 30 minutes unless I'm sitting down, right? Like some of them are just not built for walking, which is odd. That's odd. You should be built for walking.
They're good for a trip down the runway and back. And
exactly. Or I used to jokingly say like some of them are sky high heels, meaning they're only good up in the air. For all my romance lovers.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's some of them are just not made for like human beings doing anything in them.
Well, I wish you the best with those pairs too.
Thank you.
May they continue to decorate your closet and adorn your feet for a half hour at a time. All right. So are you much, have you read much just romance in general? Are you a big romance fan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a book lover. So I don't know that I'm a book lover who is a slight hopeless romantic. So I think that there are definitely like romances that every romance that I read, I love, but I try and like diversify it some, right? So if I read, and I'm in a book club also. It is the perfect book club for me because we meet like maybe every 3 months. Or so. Gives me time to read. But like if we read a romance novel, 1 3-month block, then like we'll go to a different genre the next, because it can be easy to be like to just stick with one genre because you really liked it, but we want to like force ourselves out of our comfort zone. But especially, I don't know if anybody else is like this, for me, but around Christmas time, like that's all I really want to read is romance books and watch romance movies on Lifetime and Hallmark.
Oh yeah. Yes, I'm the same way. It's such a good time.
I don't want to read anything serious right now. Like, and I don't mean serious in a negative way, but like I don't want to read anything heavy. I want to read something that like makes me think about love and like
something that's easy to turn the page. Yeah. All right. Well, what's one of your romance tropes that you could just keep coming back to and reading over and over?
I'm gonna cheat here a little bit, Aaron, and give you a few of them.
Oh, so yeah, absolutely.
The first one I think is probably obvious if you've read my book, that like I really do like the second chance romance trope. I think of even like 7 Days in June. I don't know if you've read that by Tia Williams, but that was another one that was very much like the second chance romance like trope where the characters knew each other when they were in high school and then they like came back like for 7 Days in June, and you sort of see like the relationship develop from there. So I don't know, I think maybe it's like the slight hopeless romantic in me that kind of likes the idea of if you come back with like just the right amount of work that maybe it can work out and happen. um, I think outside of second chance romance, I like um the like best friend's brother or sister kind of thing, because it feels like it could really happen in real life. Oh no, I think we had Aaron drop off. Well, hi guys, you're with me now. um so I'll just continue talking about romance tropes that I like. And I like the billionaire stuff too, even though like I don't know any billionaires, but I'm all for like reading stuff that I don't know that could actually happen to me. So I don't know if any of you also have different romance tropes that you really like or not. Let's see. See, we've got some Kamani covers. I definitely used to love those. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, you know what? You were right. I also don't like when the women in the billionaire romances don't want to spend. Like that's why you meet a billionaire, right? To spend their money. That's the beauty of meeting like the billionaire prince or the billionaire like whatever, is that they can like sweep you off your feet in a way that, you know, the guy that you would meet who's, I don't know, a personal trainer or something, like maybe he can't do money wise. Give me the luxury, give me the like, I want to see that or read that in a book. Like give me all the stuff that I wouldn't normally experience in my real life. So I'm totally with you on that one. And hey Carrie, thank you. So appreciate the congrats on the first release. Hey Aaron, you're back. I was
Yeah.
just talking
I'm sorry to just leave you hanging like that. I'm running off my hotspot, so I don't know how active I'm going to be.
No, it's quite all right. I think we were just sort of talking about the billionaire trope and
Oh yeah.
how I love to read it, but one of the Miss WOC readers, she was saying she loves to read it too, but she doesn't like when the woman doesn't want to spend the billionaire's money. And I'm like, yeah, who wouldn't want that? Oh, I think we might have lost Aaron again, you guys. But you're right, Carrie. Not believable not to want to spend the money. Like spend. Oh, there you are. Spend that
Okay.
billionaire's
I'm
money.
back on Wi-Fi.
And you're right. Because here's the thing.
Spitting.
I don't want to have to buy my own Jimmy Choos. But if a billionaire wants to buy my Jimmy Choos, I am right there with you. Aaron, I feel like you keep coming in on exactly the wrong parts. You're like, what are they talking about?
Okay. It's all right. I'm glad that you were able to carry the show for me. Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
All right. So I think I caught that. So billionaires, if they want to buy your stuff for you, that's fine.
Yeah. Give me the luxury, you know.
Oh, Carrie's here. Hey, Carrie.
Yeah, hey Carrie.
All right. So sorry, I'm the one derailing everything here now.
No, you're good. I want to, if I could quickly just say,
yeah.
I don't want to like mess up our text stuff again, but like, I just have to say, Carrie was like, when we talk about like the Harlequin family, Carrie was one of the first people who reached out to me just on her own.
Oh.
And so it's like that kind of stuff that I think maybe like I don't know if it happens in other publishing companies, but like the authors that are a part of Harlequin are like they're great. Like they're
Aren't
really
they?
great. Carrie's great. Everyone that I've met so far, they make a girl feel like they're home, you know?
Uh-huh. Yes,
Yeah.
Carrie is awesome. She's offered to coach me a bit in writing,
Oh,
but
that's
I've been
awesome.
yes, it is awesome. I've been too self-conscious to actually send her anything yet, but you know,
You gotta do it, Aaron. You gotta do it. You gotta do it.
yeah,
Just hear my voice when you're thinking that. Like, just do it.
yes, that's right. I know. I'm not going to have a manuscript finished by Valentine's Day, but you know what? I'm staying positive. So.
That's okay. One of my mentors in college, she was PhD professor, right?
Mm-hmm.
She would tell people, listen, it took me 7 years to graduate from undergrad. It took me another 6 years to get my PhD. And no one
Mm-hmm.
in the world knows that unless I tell them. All you
Yeah,
know of me
right.
is as Dr. Such and such, right? Because
Uh-huh.
I did it. And so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter how long it takes. It's just that you just keep doing it. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh,
So
I'm
I'm just
honest
putting
and
up.
I'm nice.
Yeah. Well, I'm about ready, Carrie. I'm almost there. Well, Darby, I only had one more round out question for you, and that is, can you help me and some people find discover some new music? Do you have any artists or songs that you'd like to suggest?
Yes, I can. I think the question would be, what genre do you like? Or if you're just trying to just jump right in there and anything that I like, I'm here for
Oh,
you.
I listen to everything.
Okay.
It goes in waves of whatever genre I'm listening to. If it sets off fireworks in my brain, I'm all about it.
Okay, great. Because that's how I am too. I mean, I think you've read the book, Aaron, so you know
Uh-huh. Yeah.
there's everything from country music to
Uh-huh.
rap in there, right? So I mean, I just think good music is good music, but
Hmm.
I love R&B music. Like that is
Yeah.
my, I don't know, when I need to write and I feel like
Hmm.
I can't get there, I put on some R&B music. When I need to
Awesome.
like have a moment where I just need like some serenity, I put on some R&B
Mhm.
music. Like it's
Yeah.
just R&B music is probably tops for me.
Mhm.
And there's a few songs, they're not all love songs, but there are a few
Okay.
songs that I've
That's all
been
right.
listening to lately that I would highly recommend. And they're
Okay.
not all new either, but
Uh-huh.
here's
Yeah.
some of them for you. Um, Loved by You by Kirby. I just
Okay.
found out, like, heard about this song maybe like a month ago.
Hmm.
It is not new. I was very upset that I just found out about it a month ago. It is so good. Like I just keep. I'm also one of those people that if I like a song, I just keep replaying it over and over. I'm sure that my neighbors in New York hate me, but but definitely Loved by You, Kirby.
Hmm.
Um, there's this new LMA song that
Okay.
is okay. The letters are DFMU, and I think it's like um oh gosh, I don't remember what it stands for, but it's basically like she's talking about like getting into a new relationship
Uh-huh.
and she's like don't hurt me. Like I'm
Yeah.
fragile, don't hurt me, right? Like
Okay.
that kind of
Yeah.
feeling. So I'm sure that that's what the D stands for, but I've been listening to that. Um there's this amazing love song by Rochelle Farrell and Will Downing
Okay.
called Nothing Has Ever Felt Like This. And that's like
Okay.
one of those songs that I'm like, whenever I get married, that's going on the wedding playlist. Like that
Oh
is
yeah.
one of those songs, right?
Okay.
Another
Definitely
one
check
of
that out.
those is the song called Lessons by oh God, Eric Roberson.
Okay.
That's another one of those songs where he's like, like I learned all these lessons and it led me to you kind of thing,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
And then for all my people who like R&B but don't necessarily, they're not in like a love space right now,
Hmm.
I've got SZA for you because SZA,
Oh, she's great.
SZA will like you don't have to be in love right now to listen to some like smooth sounds.
Mhm.
Um, and her song "I Hate You"
Okay.
it's so bad, but it's so good. I'm like, yeah, I hate them too, SZA.
Right.
So that's my recommended list right now.
All right. Well, thank you so much. That'll give me plenty to work on here. Well, thank you very much. Oh, my good friend Nicole popped in late, but that's all
Hi.
right. Hey, Nicole. And Vina just loves LMA too.
Yes, I'm so excited that she has another song out. It's been a while.
All right. So, Darby, thank you. Thank you so much for being the first author that has come on to my live show. It's been an honor to have you here, and it's been wonderful to chat with you. And I and my audience here just wish you the best of everything going
Thank you,
forward.
Aaron. I could not come on this. Like, I felt like we bonded over Twitter as you were going through the book.
Oh yeah, definitely.
There's no way that I wasn't gonna have this, take on this opportunity and come and talk to you guys today.
Oh,
So
well, thank
I'm
you.
excited.
Thank you so much. It was such a fun read through, doing that over Twitter with you, even for some of the weight of the subject matter in the book. But you know what? I hadn't had a good cry in a while, so and I had several through that book. So.
I will say that's another nod to like friendships, like got you through that moment. It was okay.
Yeah. All right, everyone. The next scheduled Aaron's Reading Room Live is going to be with author Pippa Roscoe, and that's going to be on March 21st. Careful of the time here. It's going to be at 4:30 Greenwich Mean Time. So that's 11:30 a.m. Eastern and 8:30 a.m. Pacific. So it's going to be a morning show here in the United States. But I hope to see you there. And Darby, thank you again. And I hope to see you just everywhere, all over the internet, and just being successful all over the place.
Thanks, Aaron. And thank you, everyone, for coming tonight.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.